Over the last few years, it's been widely recognised that concussions can be difficult to spot in sports settings, particularly in football. Through this research study, we hope to be able to refine the assessment of concussion in Premier League football, which we hope will have implications across the sport more widely, as well as other sports and non-sport traumatic brain injury settings. The Drake Foundation is partnering with the University of Birmingham and funding the lab-based analysis of saliva and urine samples collected from players during the study. We hope that data from these samples will help us move towards an effective biomarker for the diagnosis of concussion in sport and other settings, and also potentially shed some light on what's happening in the brain following these head injuries.
So our team at the University of Birmingham has been working on developing new diagnostic technologies for concussion and for traumatic brain injury for some time. In the past, that's involved research looking at protein biomarkers and now looking at microRNAs, a new category of biomarker that could be very effective at helping us to distinguish between people with concussion and with other injuries.
So our team has been working on concussion research for many years, and we've been looking at a number of different ways to help with the diagnosis of concussion, from MRI scans to biomarkers. And by that I mean the discovery of new molecules that can help with the diagnosis of concussion, so identify proteins or genetic material in the blood or other fluids that can actually help the doctors or the physiotherapists on the sideline to make that diagnosis of concussion, which is actually notoriously very hard to make.
The kinds of biomarkers that we have been looking at are aimed at trying to help us be much more objective in terms of how we diagnose concussion. And so at the moment there's a degree of judgment in making a diagnosis of concussion. What this new technology could allow us to do is be much more objective with how we make that diagnosis. So in the form of a saliva or urine test that will give a black and white answer as to whether a player has had a concussion or not.
So in the 2017-2018 season, we did a study across the Rugby Premiership and Championship, where we collected samples from most of the concussions that occurred in that season and controls from players that had just musculoskeletal injuries or no injury at all. They just played the game but were not injured at all. And what we wanted to do in the rugby study in the last season is to check whether how soon these compounds get released, how soon they can be measured after. We collected the majority of concussions that happened in the 2017 season across the two leagues, and the results are currently being analysed. But that the preliminary results are very, very interesting and very encouraging. So the validation of concussion that is currently in professional football differs quite substantially from rugby. So in medicine, any area of medicine, whenever you have a test, you have to think how the end users might apply the test. So we thought, even at this early stage, we should really roll it out to different sports to see how the end users would apply the test, what feedback would we get, how they would use the information, how would that be fed back to the player or the coach, and inform decisions in football, which I suspect will turn out to be very different from how the test is actually used in rugby. So concussion is one of the most difficult diagnoses to make in medicine. At the moment there is no biomarker test for concussion, which makes it really hard to identify if someone has had a brain injury, this type of brain injury, outside the hospital. We think this test could really benefit a number of different sports and a number of different players at all levels of participation, and particularly the grassroots players, because actually they don't have the benefit of a professional assessment on the sideline. There's no doctor or physio that can help with that. But potentially this is a test that could also benefit other people, other areas of medicine. For example, the NHS is very difficult to identify somebody who's had a traumatic brain injury in the back of an ambulance, particularly when there are other factors, other confounders, other injuries, for example, or alcohol. Or military medicine, concussion is one of the most common diagnoses of people that went to fight in Afghanistan and Iraq. So potentially this is a test that could benefit a number of different people, not just in sports, but as I said, across many areas of medicine.